All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. So it seems like the Las Vegas Raiders are down to trade up for a quarterback. Now, picks number one, I think, is an absolute no-go. Pick number two with Washington, I think it's still a bit of a reach, still a bit of a stretch. Pick number three as well with the Patriots, huge stretch, huge reach. I don't think that the Las Vegas Raiders will trade into the top three. I think they're going to have to give up an arm and a leg, maybe two arms, one leg, two legs, one arm, something like that. And I don't think that, while I'm a huge fan of Jaden Daniels, I do think it is extremely risky. Like, let's say the Raiders trade up for pick number three and Jaden Daniels goes pick number two. Well, Tom Telesco and the Raiders organization better be pretty damn set on Drake May being a good backup plan. JJ McCarthy has been coming up. He's been rising the draft rankings. He's been driving up his people want this dude. JJ McCarthy, like his draft stock, he has been driving it up. He didn't have a crazy combine. But to be quite honest with you guys, take combines with a grain of salt because I don't think it's all that indicative of if they can play in the NFL. Like, for example, JJ McCarthy is who we're going to be talking about mainly in tonight's Raiders video. But he didn't light it up. He didn't have a crazy combine. But I'm pretty sure if he is in the right system, he will do just fine. Now, we're going to talk about whether or not he's a good fit for the Las Vegas Raiders in today's video. But folks, coming from The Athletic, a respected, I don't need to explain to you guys what The Athletic is. The Las Vegas Raiders and the Giants reportedly are two teams who people have been asking to trade up for a quarterback. And then we heard another report also from The Athletic that Tom Telesco, the GM, we'll talk about this in a second. Before we get any further into today's video, if you guys enjoy it, be sure to hit that like button, hit that sub button for daily NFL content, along with daily Raiders videos. Raiders fans, if we try and get this video to 250 likes, that would mean the absolute world to me. Guys, we're 10 days away from the start of free agency. And that's actually going to tell us a whole bunch of stuff about what this team plans on doing at the draft, because we could be sitting here talking about a trade up for JJ McCarthy or a trade up for Jaden Daniels. And, you could wake up theoretically tomorrow to Justin Fields being traded to the Las Vegas Raiders. We could wake up in 10 days to Kirk Cousins being on the Raiders, right? There's a lot of possibilities, but here's a report. Tom Telesco has also had conversations centered on potentially trading for picks in the 5 to 7 range, which are owned by the Chargers, pick number 5, the Giants, pick number 6, and the Tennessee Titans, pick number 7. That type of trade could be made to put the Raiders in range for another trade up later or a player at a premium position, but it mostly makes sense if it's a move up for a quarterback like Michigan's JJ McCarthy. This is from The Athletic. Now, Tom Telesco is going to be smart about this, and we know that. Tom Telesco's got a great track record, in my opinion. I'm so glad he's the GM of the Las Vegas Raiders. I actually think, Raiders fans are aware of Tom Telesco, right? He's been with the Chargers for the last 10 seasons as their general manager within their organization, but I don't think it will be fully appreciated until this time next season after the draft and after free agency. The Raiders are on the rise, and Antonio Pierce, Davis, all of these guys are getting extremely aggressive. That's kind of the vibe. That's what I'm getting from this Raiders organization. And it just honestly feels like such a breath of fresh air. But Tom Telesco, if he has a quarterback, whether it's Jaden Daniels or JJ McCarthy, that he wants to trade up for, and that he knows he's that guy, he's probably going to do it. Now, once again, trading up into the top 3, I think, at this point is a little unrealistic. The Chicago Bears want so much. They want a generational haul for pick number 1. And, while we're at it, we also have to keep in mind just in general that everything we're hearing right now is just smoke and mirrors. No GM, whether you're the Raiders or the Bears or the Commanders or whatever team you are, no GM's going to show their cards at this point in the offseason. It makes literally no sense. But the Bears reportedly are taking calls. That's what we heard from the combine, that they're taking calls and they're gauging the interest for Justin Fields. I have a weird feeling that Justin Fields will be the starting quarterback for the Chicago Bears next season. But JJ McCarthy, if the Raiders were to actually trade up for pick number 5, 6, 7, 8, who do we appreciate? Whatever pick they end up deciding if they were to trade up to select JJ. It's not my favorite, right? Like, I'm a huge fan. And by the way, man, this has nothing to do with Aiden O'Connell. I think he's got a bright future in the NFL. I think his floor is a backup quarterback, which is very good. But we know that the Raiders want to bring in QB competition. Me personally, as you guys know from following this channel, I'm a huge fan of Jaden Daniels. I think he is that dude, and I think the Raiders, whether they trade up for him or not, whether he falls in the draft or not, all I know is if I wake up after draft day or I'm watching the draft and the Raiders select Jaden Daniels, I will lose my mind. No matter what that package is, no matter what that package takes, I will lose my mind. But from a GM standpoint, if the Raiders were to trade up for any of those picks we just mentioned, 6 through 8, and selected JJ McCarthy, I wouldn't be all that upset. I do want a little bit more. It's not even like a mobility thing. It's not a dual threat thing. JJ McCarthy, I think, has a ton of talent. And once again, I think in the right scheme and in the right fit, he can really excel. I just think it's a little bit risky. I also don't think he's quite ready for a huge rookie season, no matter what football team he's on. I think it's going to be one of those things that just marinates well, maybe like a pulled pork in a crock pot, something like that. Year 2, year 3, I think is when JJ really kind of comes into his own, like a lot of rookie quarterbacks do. But the point is this, if the Raiders do end up trading up and selecting JJ McCarthy, I won't be all that upset. JJ had a really good season in Michigan, 22 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. We know what Michigan did in the college football playoffs. He had a 72.3 completion percent. He threw for just under 3,000 yards. The last 2 seasons, 22 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 22 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, and you're in the Big Ten, and the Big Ten plays good defense. So once again, he didn't light up the combine, but I will take that with a grain of salt, as we've seen time and time again in every single draft combine through its entirety, is just not really getting me going. But once again, I do think it would be better than signing a dude like Josh Dobbs and having him and Aiden O'Connell compete for the starting quarterback gig like that. Man, I appreciate my Raiders fans watching these videos, showing their love for their starting quarterback, Aiden O'Connell. But I do just want a little bit more, because I can't envision Aiden O'Connell against Patty Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, all of these great quarterbacks in the AFC. I can't fully imagine him going head-to-head against these guys all regular season and in the playoffs and, getting a Super Bowl relatively quickly. The Raiders do have holes. They do have flaws that they will address in the draft and free agency. And once again, 10 days from now, when the Raiders begin free agency, we will know a lot more about how they're going to draft. But I do think it's interesting that Tom Telesco has called teams about offers for those picks. So I think at the end of the day, it's good. And I'm just excited for this Raiders offseason to officially begin, even though it's technically already began. I'm excited for free agency, man. Hit that like button, hit that sub button for daily Raiders content. But most importantly, let me know your thoughts on JJ McCarthy coming on over to the Las Vegas Raiders.